Let's begin with some of these questions. Question number one is based on the exclusivity of Jesus. Is Jesus really the only way? And, my goal here is to take 2 or 3 minutes and answer these questions. So I have to be brief and succinct, but, there is an offense about the exclusivity of Jesus. By definition, whenever we say something is exclusive, we're obviously saying all the other things are wrong. And especially to the kind of cultures most of us live in the West, that's extremely offensive. The cardinal sin, somebody once said every nation has blasphemy laws. We in America or the UK, we may look at somewhere like Indonesia or Pakistan and go, they have blasphemy laws. America has blasphemy laws. There are things you can't say or they don't want you to say. And one of them is this idea that any one religion is better than anything else. And people wouldn't mind saying Jesus is a great teacher, he's one of the ways, but there's something very offensive about saying he's the only way, and if you reject Christianity, all the other ways are wrong. So let me try and answer that really briefly. Number one, the bottom line is that's what Jesus said of himself. So whenever somebody comes and says, well, Jesus was a great teacher, but he isn't the only way, that's a little bit self-refuting or self-contradicting, because that great teacher you claim that Jesus is says that he is the only way. I'm the way, the truth, the life, the only way to the Father. All other ways are wrong. So Jesus himself said that. Let me just expand your thinking about this question, if that's something you struggle over as well. Because as C.S. Lewis once said in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, when he wrote about the professor, he said, we're really not used to thinking. There's a passage in that book where the professor says to the children, don't they teach you kids how to think anymore? And of course the answer is no. And the danger with exclusivity is every truth claim is exclusive. Anytime I make a truth claim, anytime I say, if I were to say to you 2 and 2 is 4, by definition, what I've just said is 2 and 2 is not 1, 2, 3, 0, 5, 6, 7, and an infinite number of other answers. When you say something is something, you're saying it's not all those other things. So it's actually impossible to make any truth claim without that truth claim being exclusive. Okay, key number 2 to understanding this, and it's really important you get this, every religion claims that it's exclusive. So at times we'll think like, oh, Christianity is really narrow and bigoted by saying it's the only way. No, Islam states that it's the only way. Now, if you get around the surface of some Muslims, they say, oh, we love Jesus. But if you actually ask them what they believe, they'll say the Jesus we love isn't God. He isn't really Jesus the Messiah. He didn't die on the cross or rise from the dead. And they'll tell you can't really trust Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So anything we think we know about Jesus, they've got this perfect get out. My point is Islam will come and say, we have the truth. If you were to talk to a Buddhist, let's say, who would believe in reincarnation, by stating the fact you believe in reincarnation, you are dismissing the viewpoint that the Bible would say that it's appointed one for man to die, and after that the judgment. So every religion, every truth claim is exclusive. Yeah, there's a famous meme that's very kind of indicative of our age. There's a story about 5 blind men who are walking along the road and they meet an elephant. And of course, you know the story. One of them grabs the whole elephant. He says, oh, an elephant's a great big blobby thing. And another grabs the foot of the elephant and says, oh, an elephant feels like a tree trunk. And another grabs the trunk of the elephant and says, no, it's this long, rubbery, bendy thing. That's what an elephant. Another grabs the tail of the elephant and says, no, an elephant's long and thin and with a furry end. And the danger is, if you read something like the New York Times, what they'll do, and somebody did this recently in an article, is they'll look and they'll say, that's what religion is. One religion has a hold of the tail, another has a hold of the ear, another has a hold of the trunk, another the leg, another the stomach, and they all have little bits of the truth, but none of them have all the truth. Now that sounds really humble. That sounds very... as if like, well, none of us really have all the truth. But if you think about it, if somebody were to write that, as this guy did recently in the New York Times, what the narrator is actually saying is all of these religions have just one little piece of the truth, but I see the whole elephant. I see what's really going on. I see the whole thing. And that is actually not humility. It's actually pride. So anybody who comes along and says, well, I think there are little pieces of truth in all religion, that's not a humble statement. It can come across as humble, but it's actually quite prideful. And what we've got to do, all of us have to at times choose what we believe. And I have decided to follow Jesus. I've decided to follow somebody who says they're the way, the truth, and the life, because they died and they rose again. Allah is dead, Buddha is dead, Krishna is dead, yeah, the Branch Davidians are dead, you know, all these different people are dead. Jesus Christ is alive. And I choose to follow Jesus because he rose from the dead. I choose to follow Jesus because he shows himself alive by many infallible proofs. But I challenge you, no matter who you follow, you are exclusive in your claim of the truth. Yeah? You know, in the kind of liberal society like American is right now, we appear to be very liberal and very open to ideas, but the second you contradict a liberal's viewpoint, you will hit intolerance. There is no religion more intolerant than secular liberalism. So my point to you is everybody is exclusive in what they believe. Everybody. You are, I am, every religion are. The key is to find something that's actually true. His name is Jesus. Call on him. Boom.